This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so this is probably, as you could probably see, my favorite topic when it comes to detox, and the part of detox that is not a healing crisis, that doesn't have us feeling sick, that doesn't have us running to the bathroom or getting headaches. Although this can contribute to it, but it actually, in many ways, makes it much better. And that is the chapter on fruit, which if you guys, hang out with Kathy or Veronique at all, it's almost like a fruit fight, right? As you, which one is going to be eating more fruit at what time? I've never seen two women eat so much fruit in my life. So, and so
Good talking.
yeah, but you guys, I mean, sometimes you guys are just on a kick, like, orange juices and everything all day long. And yeah, they're pretty serious fruiters. But yeah, this is, I think, our favorite part of detox is really getting into the fruit and giving people permission to eat fruit. So anyone who's done any other kind of diet or program knows that a lot of these programs these days tell people not to eat fruit. It's too much sugar, it's not good for you, you'll get addicted to it, it'll rot your teeth out, blah, 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 blah. And of course, when we tell people they can have fruit, a lot of times they're shocked, they're excited, they're scared. Can I really do that? Is it really okay to have fruit? So the answer is yes, it's really okay to have fruit. And fruit is your greatest detoxifier. And at other times we've talked about veggies. I may have talked about it in the last webinar, I'm not sure, but talked about an aspect of building, which many times we need to do during different times of detox. But today we're going to really talk about fruit and its effect on detoxing, on pulling out those wastes and those toxins, on really pulling on that lymphatic system. But one of the things that I want to do before we talk technical is talk about the sexiness of fruit, of what draws us into fruit. So it's hard to believe that someone could look at a cow in a pasture and think dinner, right? Or look at a lamb or a calf or a pig and think, oh, your mouth waters and salivates, right? Your mouth doesn't water or salivate until it's being cooked and has seasonings and things added to it, right? And then there's some kind of smell that's conjured up that makes you think food. But it's different with fruit. And it's similar to every single nationality and really every age group, that we are very much drawn to fruit. And one of the things that I wanted to just share with you today, and this is just, obviously a smidgen because I didn't prepare, of course, but I just want to talk about variety for a second. And I want to talk about what happens in a tropical environment. And for those of you who are not in one, I'm sorry. Actually, I guess Florida is subtropical. But this is what happens. It's heavy. This is what is possible, right? That nature just produces out of this almost scary plant here, produces fruit from air and dirt and water, produces something as amazing as this. This is just a pineapple top. So even for those of you who are in a cold environment, you can probably do this in your house by a window. And of course, as long as your house has a decent temperature going. But this is just cutting off the top of the pineapple. So this little part here, that pineapple that I get from the grocery store, cut off the top, put it in dirt and let it go. It takes a while to grow, but they will. And you can have fresh fruit. Right now in Florida, it's springtime. We'll be going into summer soon. And so things are growing and blooming. So, and it's been weird, the weather. So I've had papayas a couple months ago and now I've got them again. So, you know, just papayas, and there's different kinds. I didn't pull the one off the other tree, but they're totally shaped different. They're short and stout, almost like a pumpkin with those ridges. But, you know, papayas are amazing for you. I have 2 mango trees. One is not going to do too well. This is the other one. So this is a smaller mango. It should be yellow and golden, but it got knocked off the tree today. But once it's yellow, it's edible. And then recently, Veronique had introduced me to a lady who now brings us coconut milk every week. She gets fresh coconuts here in Florida, and she cuts them open and pulls out the water and the meat and blends it into coconut milk, which is delicious. But we were chatting about another fruit, which I have a tree in the yard. Some kind of bug is eating it, and I really thought I was going to get fruit because it had little flowers on it for the past few weeks, but these bugs have gone to town on it. And I've got to use a natural remedy, but it's kind of greasy anyway. But this is something, and I've only got half of it, but I'll show you. It's called egg fruit. And egg fruit is amazing. I don't know where it originates from. When you cut it open, so you'll notice that the skin color can be kind of close to a papaya, to the golden part of the papaya. But the inside is this beautiful, bright, orangey yellow color. And the seeds, so you'll find, depending on the size, you'll find 2 to 4 seeds in it. Get this one. So you'll find seeds in it that big. So I'll be planting these and trying to get them to grow. And the fruit inside, oh, it has something fun too. So the fruit inside is, it's sort of the consistency of a hard-boiled egg yolk. So it's kind of that kind of dry, almost cakey consistency. It's extremely sweet. It's delicious. It's like if you're out with friends and they're eating cake, you can have this and not feel left out. It's that amazing and that good. So I want to encourage you guys, no matter where you live. Oh, and what do you have? What is that? Oh, wait, I can't hear you. I think you're muted. There you go.
I wanted to share with you, and it's a tropical fruit. It's a black zapote.
Oh.
And it is like a custard also. It's like very sweet. But I wanted to show you, the outside is not very appetizing because it's like super ripe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it looks. And the other thing that I'm enjoying, because this was the last batch, it's like fresh mulberries. I don't know if you guys can see.
Pick one up and show them.
Okay.
So they almost look like a blackberry.
Yeah.
But they're more petite and amazing. How many of you guys have had dry mulberries? So dry mulberries are great. We have a recipe in the book where you can turn it into a cereal. But fresh mulberries are fantastic too. That's next on my list of trees, I think. I'm going to see if I can get one. But what we want to encourage you guys to do, and even share with us, is to try different fruits. If you can get them where you are, if they're shipped in from somewhere, tropical fruits. I mean, remember, colder climates or cooler climates have things like apples and pears and peaches and things like that. Even out west here in the United States, in Arizona, I've seen peach trees and citrus trees. So I want to really encourage you guys to try some different things, jackfruit and Monstera deliciosa, which I used to have. I don't have those anymore. But definitely try some different things. I think that when you're in this detox and you're getting bored, that's time to really try to break out and see what you can find in your area that is unusual, especially some of the cooler climates. You guys have amazing berries that are wildly growing that I would definitely tap into, see if you can find. So anyone want to share anything unusual about fruit before we talk a little bit more about the body in fruit? Kathy?
I was going to say that quickly, for you guys in Europe, or I don't know where you are located in Australia, do you have Asian stores? Because sometimes in Asian stores, they have fruits that you don't find in regular supermarkets. So
I recently discovered a mamey, M-A-M-E-Y, and it doesn't really look that good. It kind of looks like a big potato because it has that brown outing, and then when you cut it, it's kind of orangish red. But now I love it. Like when I first tasted it, I'm like, oh, this is different. I don't think I like it. But then I'm like, oh, well, it's fruit. Let me eat some more. And then by the time I was done with it, which was like a day later, I can't get enough. It's really good. So I just to go to what you're saying is it's so good to try new things because you just never know what you're gonna like.
Absolutely. And you know, back in the day, I used to, especially when I did these grocery shop tours, and the people would bring their kids, and I would say I would have a rule of 5 that you have to try something 5 times before you say you don't like it. Because a lot of times the kids get it from the parents. The parents make the face, and they're like, oh, I don't want to have that, I don't like that. And then the kids don't try it. So that rule of 5, trying something 5 times before you say you don't like it, I think is really, really good.
And Kathy, quickly, I just wanted to tell you about the mamey. You can mix it up, blend it, make it like a pudding, and blend it with a little bit of water. And you can put some carob powder on it, or some shredded coconut. It's really good. It's like a pudding. It makes a nice dessert.
It was just so good the way it was.
Yeah.
Another one. I'm ready. I'm waiting for it to ripen. So.
And you know, right now, depending again on where you are in the world, berries are coming into season, organic berries are coming into season. So, you know, make a great big berry salad, something colorful, something that's really enticing. And then again, based on your digestion, you know, sprinkle some coconut on it or drizzle some honey on it. Mix your fresh berries with some dry berries or dry cherries. Dry mango, or again, if you've got fresh mango coming into season. So really start to mix it up, mix those colors together, get it really enticing, and then again, being blessed to have someone close by that makes fresh coconut milk. I've been dousing my fresh berries with coconut milk and just eating that, and that's really delicious, really satisfying. So, you know, definitely start to think about getting variety, putting things together that you didn't put together before. I know we practice food combining quite a bit, but you know, as long as your digestion, you know, can handle some maybe different combinations just to keep you going here. So, okay, so that's about our fruit that we love and adore. So when we talk about fruit during detox, those of you who have been detoxing a while, or those of you that are new into it, you know, we do several different stages of the diet with detox. We do stage 1, which is just fruit for breakfast and maybe for snacks throughout the day, and then our veggies for lunch and for dinner. And then phase 2 is fruit for breakfast and lunch, and then our veggies at dinner. And of course, phase 3 is all fruit. And not everybody gets to phase 3, but phase 3 is all fruit. And what is the purpose of having so much fruit in the diet, especially when we've been told to worry about the sugar, especially when we've been told to worry about the calories, you know, we worry about our teeth. What is the purpose of all this fruit? So first of all, we're not concerned about the sugar, because as we study and we read, we understand that sugar is what feeds the cells to give them energy. So we don't want to withhold that. We don't want to push the body, as in a keto diet or paleo diet. We don't want to push the body to get its energy elsewhere. We want to give it immediately what it needs. Because when you're detoxing, your energy should be going towards that. Your cellular energy should be going towards that cell's function and cleaning out your body system. So we don't want to need to take fat and break it down for energy. We don't want to have to take proteins and convert them for energy. We want to give the body what it needs when it needs it right now. And that is the sugar, the fructose that's coming from the fruit. We also want to provide amazing hydration to your cells. And the visual that I like to use is think about the difference between pouring a glass of water on a glass surface, where that water just sits there and beads up and doesn't penetrate, versus pouring a glass of water on a sponge, where that water gets sucked right in. The water that you drink from a bottle or a glass, I mean, unless you are up in Iceland drinking from a glacier, right? The water, and even that is not the best. The water that you get from whatever source of water you drink is not going to penetrate the cells the way the water from your fruit is. The water from your fruit is going to thoroughly hydrate your cells. And more importantly, or just as important, it's going to start to flush out that lymphatic system. And isn't that why you're here? To flush out your lymph. Now,
Can you guys hear Roseanne or?
No. Uh-oh.
Roseanne is frozen.
Yes.
Ah,
Uh-oh.
we call her. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, she went away.
She
my
went
internet
away.
just crashed.
Oh.
Are you able to?
Oh.
Well,
What's that, honey?
are you rebooting, or is it completely crashed?
You're working on it? Okay. To get back on now, let me take a look at what's going on here.
Yeah. Okay. We continue the conversation. We wait for you.
Are you guys, oh, if you're able to still, so my other computer crashed, but maybe I can do it with this. Okay. I am going to get back in. You're still on though, yes?
Yes. Everybody's
Oh,
here.
thank
Yeah.
goodness. Okay. Be
Okay.
right there.
Okay. Talk to you soon. All right. So in the meantime, any Q&As, any questions?
Jess had a good question which followed on my question about the coconut yogurt. How much is too much coconut yogurt for phase 2 and 3? And can you still, if you don't make coconut yogurt, can you just buy natural coconut yogurt and use a little bit?
So I said yes for coconut yogurt, and Kathy, I'd be happy to hear what you have to say. I say yes for phase 1, someone who's transitioning from where they were to go into phase number 1. Coconut yogurt is not bad. The only thing is that they add probiotic in it if you make it yourself. So that's the only thing, and it's not contraindicated for detox. The only thing I would be concerned about would be for phase, like you mentioning, phase 2 and 3. Definitely, I would cut that out. If the deeper you want to go in the detox, I would cut the coconut yogurt and the coconut milk as well.
Yeah.
I did hear that about probiotics. Did you say probiotics is the main problem with the coconut yogurt, that you don't want that during detox?
During phase 2 and 3, it's not a problem. It's not contraindicated. But the deeper you want to go into detox, like going towards phase 2 and phase 3, you definitely want to remove and stay on fruit as much as possible. Kathy, would you like to share something?
Yeah, I agree with you. As we go deeper, like phase 2, phase 3, you would want to eliminate the coconut yogurt and coconut milk, because actually sometimes the fat, which is in yogurt or even avocados, inhibits the absorption of the sugar into the cells. So as we transition, it's a great tool, to help us get us past the hump. But as you go deeper and deeper, it's something to avoid.
Thank you.
Sure.
Give me a second, guys. I'm getting back on, but keep going. You sound good.
Any other questions, you guys?
Can you elaborate more with the fat and what you just said?
As you go deeper in your detox, so let's say phase 2, phase 3, let's say in phase 1, you're eating 3 avocados a day. By the time you get to phase 2, maybe keep it at 1 avocado a day. The fat, because usually we encourage the fat, right? The avocado, even the coconut, because it's healthy fat. But it does inhibit the absorption of the fruit sugar into the cells. So as you progress and as you want to go deeper, it's something that you want to limit.
Like, for example, I try to use minimal avocado because of the fat. And I try to keep it to half a day. And if I'm making a dressing, like I use a quarter. Because I really can't do the salad without the avocado.
Right. I get it.
So,
That's
is that
great. No, that's great, because that's not an abundance.
right? Right. Like sometimes remember I said that I feel hungry, then I'll look for the avocado. And I've even done like olives, because Roseanne said we could have olives, but how do you find unsalted olives? So I've been just soaking them in water.
Yes. And that's what we recommend for people, just to kind of rinse them and get the salt off of them and then have them in your salad.
You
Right.
can find them. I've searched on the internet and gotten them that way. There's different companies that do make some unsalted olives, so you can look for those.
Oh, cool. But then not to have them past phase 2, you're telling me, because that's a fact.
I think you can limit them. If you're going to use 3 olives, that's okay.
Yeah, because like when I go to the olives, because like I said, I'm like craving something to fill me. Yeah.
So Claire, I have a question. Did you give a try to switching around your intake of fluids and stuff like we discussed last time?
Yeah, I've been trying, yeah. So like skipping the celery juice because I got really yucky celery. And like this morning, I have another question. I start with like a banana. I started with my banana because I wanted to take, Roseanne has me on the adrenaline one. What's that supplement?
Yeah, the adrenal glandular.
Your
Yeah.
adrenal.
Because I've taken it like 3 o'clock and I'm still up at night. So I tried to get it in earlier and hopefully by 1 I can get the second one in.
And how is that working? Are you able to take it after you've had a banana?
I took it after my banana at 7 and then I'm like, oh my God, it's 1 o'clock. I haven't taken it yet. So I try to get it down. And if it's after that, I'll skip that day.
Yeah.
I don't like being up.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Kathy and Veronique are making some good points that for some people, the fat in the coconut and the avocado can really cause some issues when you're having a lot more fruit on that phase 2 diet. And then there's some people that it doesn't affect at all. So it's that individuality, that uniqueness that is something that you've got to manage individually.
How can you tell? Like you said, some people. How do you?
Kathy or Veronique, do you want to talk about some experiences you've had with people with eating fruit along with the more fatty fruits?
Well, usually the way I recommend the fats, like I usually tell people on phase 1 transitioning from the regular diet that they have been on to really don't even think about eating. I mean, go ahead, eat avocados, eat your potatoes, don't even think about it, because I find that this is what people need to be able to transition more easily from the regular diet that people usually have. So that's my experience, and that's what I recommend to my patient. And but then when we enter phase 2, that's when we start decreasing the amount, because it really depends, Claire, to answer your question about where everybody is at. And that's what I think Roseanne is referring to, is that everybody is different. So some people that need to go deeper into the phase number 2 or 3, we're going to tell them to really slow down on this fat intake, because like Kathy was explaining, it does slow down the absorption and the detox process. So that's my experience. And someone on phase 3, definitely, maybe if it's really unbearable, have an avocado once in a while, but try to not have one every day, for example. It's going to be like more like acid fruits, alkaline, like this type.
Is it helpful if you kept it like separate? Let's say you have like, okay, I'm having fruit all day and I want to eat something like a salad at night. Like I said, have a little bit for the dressing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Roseanne.
I think that as we're monitoring progress, right, if we're seeing people getting to a sticking point, then I think that's where we have to pull back. Someone like me, I was on phase 1 almost the entire year of my detox with really no slowing down of my progress. Whereas other people, their progress kind of gets stuck. They hit a plateau. And so that's when we would pull those things out and see if we can push it a little harder, a little further.
Okay. Well, how do you tell?
Well, again, as we're looking at progress, and each one of you are doing detox for a different reason. So when we're looking at progress, we're looking at what you're dealing with, what your symptoms are, whether we're looking at anything from blood sugar, somebody who's diabetic, to tumors, to digestion. So as we're monitoring those changes, if there comes a sticking point where you're not seeing changes, where the body is literally stopped its progress, then we'll push harder, take out those avocados or coconut, go to more mono meals, go to juicing. We'll be talking about juicing in a few weeks.
Yeah, when there's a plateau, when you start seeing someone on a plateau, they are not moving any more forward or deeper, that's when it's time to push the envelope and really start to really make room and remove these items from the detox.
But to get a little bit more back to that whole fruit thing, and we talked about the adrenal glands last week, and boy, this is something that comes up over and over. You will see people with adrenal weakness have that hypoglycemia, and we tend to think about hypoglycemia as a pancreatic issue, as a problem with maybe blood sugar in terms of diabetes or pre-diabetics, but really it comes down to the adrenal glands and its inability to get glycogen released so that we can get stored sugars in the body into the bloodstream. So you have those times that, it's been 2 or 3 hours since you eat and you start to crash. So we really don't want to back off on the fruit, but we want to start to find that balance until we get those adrenals strong enough. And I was just on the phone earlier with another patient, and she said, I was getting her herb protocol together, and she said, could you send me another bottle of those adrenal things? I think that they're really helping me. And she's an attorney, and she's, you know, under a lot of stress. And I said, sweetheart, we're going to put it in an IV drip and it's never going to leave you. Going to give you adrenal support for the rest of your life or until you retire. But the important thing here is to understand that the fruit is very, very helpful in this area, that it is taking your detox to a deeper level. And when you get to that deeper level, you can get an opportunity to start cleaning out those tissues and get those tissues to function again. So when we worry about fruit sugar and diabetes, or fruit sugar and the pancreas, what we have to understand is the pancreas gets to kick back. The pancreas actually gets to take a bit of a vacation when we're bringing in this high fruit diet, because we've discovered, or that they already know, that fruit sugar does not cause an insulin response. However, let me caveat that with someone who's a type 1 diabetic, who's producing no insulin, whose body is so acidic that they are long-term diabetic, or a type 2 diabetic who, once again, their body is so acidic that they have been diabetic for so long. That acidity really affects the cell's ability to take in sugars. So insulin is always needed in maltose, right? The sugar from grains, and in sucrose, white sugar, and in galactose, milk sugar, and in glucose. Your body, your cells require insulin to open up, to get that sugar in the cell for energy. However, it does not require that when you're eating fruit. But in those cases of long-term diabetics, their body has been so acidic for so long, I like to say that the cell wall is just really impermeable to that fruit sugar getting in that cell on its own. So we never take diabetics off their medication. Well, we don't take anyone off their medication. They do that with their doctor, but we never encourage diabetics at the beginning to reduce their medication, because they're going to need it at the beginning to get that fructose in. But within just a couple of weeks, and Veronique and Kathy know the more recent patient that I'm talking about, the more recent diabetic patient, within just a couple of weeks, he is dropping his meds big time, his insulin, his metformin, he's dropping them big time, because that fruit sugar is getting into the cell, and he is cleaning the lymphatic system. He's getting his pancreas to function, and therefore the necessity for so much meds has gone away, or has decreased significantly. So that's another, wives' tale that we hear about fruit and fruit sugar. What other things are you guys concerned about with fruit? Has anyone ever felt like they were concerned about weight gain by eating fruit?
I mean, I've definitely had a reaction with eating more fruit. Before my first appointment with you, actually, I ate a lot of, I was reading your book and I ate a lot of fruit. I even did some breakfast and lunch fruits only. And I got really, I've got the symptoms of hypothyroidism, which is similar to what Roseanne explains with Graves' disease in her book, and I will do the same thing. And so that really increased for me. So it was kind of like this detox symptom, and it's certainly something for the first few weeks. I'm only maybe my third week now in phase 1, so I'm pretty new to all of this. But I had to increase my medication for a while, and I'm just really interested to know around, is that kind of what you're explaining, probably likely around the adrenals for me, where it's acidic. I'm kind of too acidic for it to all come in, so it's not getting in there yet. But over time it will.
Yeah, there's a few things involved there, right? There's your adrenal glands involved. There is a healing crisis involved. And there's another part, which is the herbs. So we often talk about, we might have mentioned this last week, I'm not sure, Veronique or Kathy, if we did, but we talk about gridlock, right? So now we're all excited to get detoxing, and we get on this diet of all alkalizing food and maybe a high fruit diet, and we start to move months, years, decades of congested lymphatic system and cellular waste. So now we start to move it, right? We start to break it away, we start to mobilize it, and where does it have to go? Well, it has to go out. It's got to go out through the kidneys and the colon and through the skin. That's where I've discovered, and oftentimes, and Kathy and Veronique know this because they get asked this question all the time, can I detox with just food and not herbs? Can I detox with just herbs and not food? I would say that you could detox better with food only as opposed to herbs only. Well, for sure, better. But oftentimes we hit that gridlock when now we start mobilizing things, but the avenue out is not a clear path. And so that gridlock causes that feeling of backup, and our symptoms can become worse. Sometimes healing crisis is that. It's us mobilizing these acids, but not having the ability to release them as out of the body, eliminate them out of the body as quickly as they're being released from the tissue. So that's where that beauty of Western medicine, could you believe I'm saying that? But that beauty of Western medicine comes in, where we have the ability to use a medication, insulin or metformin or, oh my gosh, levothyroxine or methimazole or whatever to help. That's our life raft we were talking about last week, to help support us while we go through these ebbs and flows of healing, that non-linear process. I think Veronique wanted to say, yes.
I just want to, Ellie wrote, if everyone could mute themselves because she's getting some feedback so she can hear very well.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you guys, those of you who are on camera, just raise your hand if you'd like to say something, and those of you who are not on camera, just type in the chat box and let us know that you have a question. So those are some of the things, some of the wives' tales or myths about fruit. Also, let's talk a little bit about teeth and enamel, because that's something. Veronique, Kathy, have you guys had some of your patients talk about enamel issues with a higher fruit diet?
Yes. Or they went to the dentist and all of a sudden they have cavities where before they didn't get cavities. So I think as a rule of thumb, we always recommend rinsing with water or drinking water after the fruit, because some people do get issues with their teeth.
So let's talk about that. If we are to believe that this is a natural diet to us, then how could something that is natural to us cause harm, right? I mean, it really shouldn't. And the conclusion that I've come to, and it's funny because as a Chinese medicine practitioner, there's also this theory about not eating cold raw food, which I've got my Chinese medicine theory for that too. I'll try to share that with you guys. But my conclusion with the whole fruit situation and cavities is this. You saw papaya, right, from the garden, and a mango and a pineapple. And for certain, if I pick these before they are ripe and I sit them on my kitchen counter, they're not necessarily going to ripen. I mean, now this is really super close to being ripe, so I'm okay. But they are not really going to ripen. They're going to break down. They're going to actually rot even, and the sugars will be released, and we'll taste the sweetness. And we're super used to that, at least here in the United States. But when we pick fruit that is not ripe, even if it sits on the kitchen counter and gets a bit sweeter, it still has a more acid nature to it. And so even though we're going to use it, because it's still going to cleanse the body, it is a bit tough on the enamel. So I agree with Kathy. And listen, wherever you are, if you can get fresh fruit grown locally, go for it. And if you can't, just know that certain fruits are going to cause some more of a challenge with your enamel. So definitely rinsing your mouth. Do not brush after citrus. You will cause damage to your enamel even more so. Rinse after you eat more acid fruits that alkalize the body. You can do water pick if you want. I use a gum called Pure, especially at the office when you don't always have an opportunity to rinse your mouth in between patients. So I use a gum called Pure that is aspartame free and has xylitol in it, and that's really good. Coconut oil. So I know we're talking about not having oil, but coconut oil can be very beneficial whether you're doing a oil pulling, or my dentist is a holistic dentist and she'll have you coat your teeth with some coconut oil. So there's some really good things that you can do to be very beneficial. Listen, the other thing is dry fruit, right? Dehydrated fruit is something that is delicious. We love it. We can make recipes with it. It's great to keep in your purse, you know, to snack on when things are hectic and you need to have some food with you. But the downside is because it lacks the water, it gets really sticky and it can stick on the teeth. It can cause cavities at the gum line or on the occlusal surface. So, you know, making sure that you have either some gum with you or something that you can rinse so that you don't have those issues. Yes, Anna.
Sorry. Yeah, this is really interesting. It's come up because I have teeth problem, like so many cavities my whole life, even though I'm always been super healthy and not really had much fruit drinks or sugar. But anyway, or other, you know, I mean more like colas and things. But yeah, one thing that's always helped me is actually rinsing with salt water as well. And I wondered, obviously we're not supposed to have any salt in this diet, but you've mentioned coconut oil. What would be your thought on doing a salt rinse? Like once a day?
Absolutely. Listen, a certain amount of either of these things, the coconut oil or the salt water, is going to get absorbed, but it's certainly not a game changer. And I think it's a good way to be able to keep your tooth health while you go through this.
I wanted to add to what you said, Farzan, that about the whole dental management and care. One thing we need to understand is that when we start eating fruits, so yes, there is the cleansing aspect, but teeth are tissues, they are bone tissues. So we have to understand also that if we have a lot of weakness in our system, that this fruits is going to uncover any weakness you have in your body. So if you have a weakness, for example, with your parathyroid, with your thyroid, kidneys, lymph, you're not eliminating all these things, it may very well make the terrain, the environment, not just on the teeth, but the jawbone, the entire head region. You know, so I wanted to say that because I read that a while back and I was like, wow, that makes so much sense, because we think of the teeth, just teeth, you know, we don't think tissue, and it's cells, it's blood and lymph. So that's a terrain that we need to clean. And a lot of times, yes, we get cavities because of the, you know, the sugar, and we don't always think about rinsing our mouth, but it's also because we have an environment and a terrain that is acidic.
Absolutely, and you see a lot of people on high protein diets who end up with tooth issues, gum issues as well. So, and listen, dental hygiene is really important. I've learned a lot from my holistic dentist of taking, steps that can really be good for overall, oral health. So definitely encourage you guys to, if you don't have a holistic dentist, see if there is one in your area and maybe get a different perspective. And, rinses with herbs, Heal All Tea. Veronique has talked about that. I think Kathy as well in the past, using Heal All Tea as a rinse for your mouth, for your gum health, and your teeth is a really good idea as well.
Especially before going to bed. So you keep the, the tea kind of in your mouth.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Okay. Any other? Go ahead, Veronique. You want to describe?
Do what? I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
I asked, how does the Heal All Tea work for a rinse? How does it,
How are you going to use it, you mean?
why does it work as
What does it do?
a rinse?
It's going to work the same way that when you drink it or if you do a douche with it. I love the Heal All Tea. I almost recommend it to every patient I have because it's something you have to have in your pharmacy for anything that could happen, for UTI, for canker sores, for yeast infection. I mean, you name it, like even inflammation of stomach or anything, headache. That's something that, the herbs, the synergy of the herbs together is very, very powerful. When I started detoxing, I used to have a lot of canker sores and I used to wash my mouth with that. In 48 hours, I had nothing left compared to when I was not doing any mouthwash with the Heal All Tea. It used to last a week to get rid of them. So
Do you have like a sheet that tells you all the things it's good for?
I probably have something on my computer.
I think I may have something. I don't know. Do you have something on them? I don't know.
I think I do. I'll look into it. If I start searching on it, my computer will slow down on you guys, but I will definitely look into it. I'm pretty sure I have something on the Heal All Tea. Literally, it's called that for a reason, right? He named it Heal All Tea for a reason. So he's got such an incredible blend of herbs. Veronique or Kathy or anybody, do you remember what is the Indian tea? Isyak.
Isyak tea. Yeah.
Isyak tea, I believe, is an American Indian blend of herbs, and it is well known to heal a multitude of issues. When you look at herbs, just one single herb has, a dozen or more qualities about it, whether it's an astringent, whether it's an emulsifier, whether it's a builder, whether it's an antibacterial, antiviral, whether it lowers fever, whether it is a balancer, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, oh gosh, I can't think of the term right now. But so each individual herb has multiple properties to it. And when you put them together, now you've doubled or tripled those properties. And then as Veronique said, together they work synergistically, and then they create even more functional aspects in the human body. So Dr. Morse created the Heal All Tea with the thought of the Isyak tea, that it needs to have multiple properties to it to do many things. However, none of them are so strong as to cause a negative effect in the body. So it really is a balanced formula. And like Veronique said, actually originally, his original formula was made for cervical dysplasia. So women who would go to the doctor, get their PAPs, come back, and they would say it's precancerous or abnormal cells. This tea was used as a douche, and I can't tell you how many patients I've used it with when they come back from the doctor saying they've got cervical dysplasia. So we put them, of course, on an alkaline diet. We put them on other herbs, and we work on that lymphatic system. But we use that tea as a douche. and it is phenomenal. Bacterial vaginosis is another thing. Yeast infections, like Veronique was saying, vaginal yeast infections. So these herbs are extremely powerful. You know, patients who are immune deficient, who have candida and yeast in their mouth, besides, of course, drinking the tea, get them on a rinse multiple times a day. So it's really, really good for that. Yes, Anna.
I would love to. That's really interesting about the heal all tea. Thank you. And I'm certainly going to use it for more things. But I would really love just to going back to your comment about your Chinese medicine perspective on, you know, we know that that philosophy is not so keen on raw foods. So I was really, really interested in that.
So I struggled with that for quite some time, not only, you know, when I met Dr. Morse, but before then. I recall chasing my very intelligent, amazing herbal teacher around the clinic one day as he drank. He was a tall Chinese gentleman and very, very thin, and he was drinking Ensure. And I literally thought I was going to pass out seeing this. And I remember saying to him, you need to read what's in that. And he would hold it up so I couldn't reach it. And he said, no, it's sugar. Sugar's good for spleen, you know, in Chinese medicine, spleen qi. And I said, but it's processed, it's garbage. Like, you can't drink that. And, you know, they would see me with my salads and whatever. And, you know, again, I was a vegan, but I wasn't a raw foodist, but I ate a lot of raw food and fruit. And he would say, you know, that the fruit wasn't good, and you would learn this in class, you know, and all the traditional books, that raw, uncooked food wasn't good. And I couldn't wrap my head around it for the longest time. And then I thought, a vast majority of the texts in Chinese medicine are about spleen, stomach issues. And a lot of them are about diarrhea and, you know, cholera and you know, diseases, vomiting and nausea and, you know, constipation and things, but a lot of vomiting and nausea and diarrhea. And I thought to myself, aha, that's it. I mean, when you think about life 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, when these texts were being written, this information was being passed down, you think about a situation where human beings lived in the environment. I mean, even if they were in a home, it was not with an air conditioner and windows and screens, right? So we lived in the world. And the world is a wonderful place, and it gives us, you know, wonderful things, but it also gives us pathogens that are typically transmitted through animals, whether it's a bird who happened to land on your apple and poop on it, even if you didn't see it, or the pathogens that are in the soil that you eat, along with the good things, the good bacteria, the good microbiome that gets created from that, but there are pathogens. And so over time, as things like, you know, fire were discovered, people learned that for some reason, if the food was cooked, it was safer to eat. You wouldn't get as much digestive disturbances and vomiting and nausea and diarrhea. So the world of the medicinal world of Chinese culture said, cook your food. And many times they way overcooked it, like in kanjis, where you take rice. I mean, think about rice. Even if you just picked it from the rice paddy, you're not going to eat it. You got to cook it. And really, for the ability to not cause a lot of digestive discomfort and work and bloating, you would overcook it. You would use lots of liquid to cook a little bit of rice and make a congee, a porridge. So, and then they would, of course, add herbs in there too and make medicinal porridges and congees and things. So my belief, maybe it's wrong, but I feel that because they didn't know, hey, just go wash this, and where you're going to wash it, maybe in a nice pristine stream, or maybe in a stream that the cow was wading in and pooped in that, who knows? But just that thought of cleaning your food, not getting crazy and over cleaning it with antibacterial, anti-whatever stuff that people are doing these days, but just rinse your food off and eat it, you're likely to be quite safe. So that's my theory. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. I think it's a really interesting one because I've spent a lot of time learning also about Ayurvedic medicine and Indian philosophy, and was eating a lot of that kind of cooked stuff, which is I can see can be easier on digestion in a sense. But no, it's a really cool aha moment of yours to share. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Jessica, you wanted to share something?
Hi, just really quickly, I was just wondering if you could just add to that the theory about cold food and raw food and like the stagnation that it causes to your internal organs, and how that kind of contradicts with, well, we're trying to clean them out and get them moving, and where does that stagnation sit in relation to that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that chi stagnation in that theory likely comes from pathogens. I feel that it's more so from consuming the pathogens that may be on the food as opposed to the food itself. I think that also stagnation can come from improper food combining. And that might mean, eating fruit with your animal protein. I personally have not seen stagnation not improve with proper detox and proper food combinations. So a lot of that stagnation can be digestive stagnation. Sometimes we talk about stagnation, chi stagnation, when you're talking about maybe the joints and arthritic conditions. Again, are we arthritic because we're eating fruit that's cold and raw? Or are we arthritic because we've eaten too much animal protein? And again, looking at regions as well, whether it's in China or in Italy, there are regions that are high animal protein diets, and there are regions that are high plant diets. So I think that, you've got to kind of look at all of that and analyze it in that way. But I find it really difficult to see a stagnation issue not improving by eating a detox diet. Now, some people, their digestive system is so weak that they struggle to process higher fiber foods. And so there could be that stagnation there. So that's why in certain situations, in Chinese medicine or even Ayurvedic, or if we look at Japanese, oh my goodness, what is that was used a lot? Very cooked food in Japanese medicine for cancer. Macrobiotic, right? So a lot of times the system is so weak it can't process the raw fibers, and so cooking or overcooking is the way to go to get that person to be able to process. I think if we do that on detox, and as long as we're removing oils, that we can have an effect of getting the nutrients in that we need, using the herbs to move things, stagnation, move lymph, and then eventually be able to get them more and more to a raw food diet.
Just quickly, I definitely need to follow up with you about that, because with all my FODMAP, like my fructose malabsorption stuff, and I've kind of last week been newly diagnosed with SIBO, and it kind of does come back to an issue I was telling you about not long ago, with just this, like, my bowel just like being protruding like this far out of my stomach, but the other side of my stomach not protruding at all. and like just, yeah, really crazy issues. And I was told a while ago when I had this issue, yeah, I just needed to have.
Oh, we lost her. Oh, Jessica, come back. Did you guys lose her too?
So much food, and it went away straight away as soon as I was having heaps of cooked food. I was feeling a bit frustrated, and I think I'm.
Yeah, we can hear.
We lost you for a second, so just back up to, you're talking about the bloat and then go from there.
Yeah, and I had to basically introduce really cooked food, and it went away straight away. And now I'm pretty much phase 2 now, and I guess it's taken me months to get there. But yeah, feeling good, but also feeling this little niggle coming back, and I'm yeah, feeling a bit frustrated about that and how to kind of push it.
And that's really the beauty of understanding all of your uniqueness. And Claire was asking about that earlier. So all of your uniqueness in your own body, your own history, your own genetics, that there is an obvious basic species-specific diet. But Dr. Morse talks about this a lot, especially when he talks about iridology. We have damage. We have damage genetically. We have damage on a chromosomal level from our history, from the pollutions and the toxins and everything else. So that's okay, Jess. If you need to go slower and you kind of, again, Dr. Morse's term, pulse in and out, so you go deeper, more fruit, you know, phase 2, and then you kind of back off when you're feeling that, and then go deeper again. You know, I think that's really important. I think that also something that I don't study deeply is the whole world of the microbiome. And I certainly think that there's something to that, and that we can tend to lack in the diversity of bacteria in our body, internal and external. And that we need to, it's definitely an area that needs to be studied more. And I honestly don't know a lot about it, but I think that it plays a role. And I think that if you guys are using anything in your homes that is a chemical cleaner, you've got to get rid of it. You've really got to end that, because that is going to throw us really out of balance.
Can I just ask a question about that in regards to, like, obviously living in a slightly colder environment, and we get a lot of, we have a lot of wonderful fruit, but we also do get, like from Fiji, we get papayas and grapes from Argentina or America sometimes, or Australia, but they're often irrigated. And so obviously just washing them, but you still kind of, what's your view on eating food like that?
Yeah. You know, Dr. Morse said it years ago that even conventionally grown fruit, and we were talking about grapes at the time, and especially grapes actually, even conventionally grown grapes have such incredible powers in our body in terms of alkalizing and moving lymph and detoxifying, that if you can't get any grapes, then go for that. Of course, wash them really well, use the recipes in the book, or if you have your own fruit and vegetable wash recipe. But you know, if that's what you can get, that's what you can get. Of course, anything with skin, you're in a better place. You know, skin that you're not going to eat on the fruit. But if that's what you can get, then do that, because it still has amazing powers of cleansing.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, we're a few minutes past time, but that's okay. We had a couple technical difficulties again, but thank you so much for joining. And by the way, if you guys have questions that you want to send to us, something you think about before the next webinar, go ahead and send them to info@partnersinhealing.org, and Satya and Tammy will get them to us, and we'll be able to make sure we address them. And even if you guys aren't able to be at the webinar for whatever reason, we'll address them, and that way you can watch it next time. All right. Always good to see you guys from all over the planet. It's so amazing. Thank you for joining. Namaste. Have a wonderful day, evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.